just love having something to, work towards each week, a new goal, a new challenge. Obviously, this is going to be the best defense we went against all year. Nationally ranked #1 in a ton of different categories. They do a lot of different stunts with their D-line, like we seem to have faced every week. I think they blitz a little bit more than any team that we face, so it's going to cause a little chaos in the middle. But we're excited for the challenge.
What do you see as number 52, the middle linebacker? He gets around, they move him around a lot. Off the outside linebacker to the middle linebacker, they put him all over different angles.
Obviously, he's a stud. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", 260. So he's a load. Just a fierce competitor. Obviously, he can hit extremely hard, seeing just games on television. But yeah, they like to put him in different situations, different areas, and they bring him from everywhere. So it's going to be a challenge, but we just have to identify him and then just really pick him up.
I have to ask you a funny question. He got called for a holding penalty last week where he actually picked up a guy with body slam. Did any of the officials say anything to you after that?
Yeah, it was actually funny because when we had that, I think we had a timeout and an immediate timeout back to back. So it was a long time that we were just waiting. So I went up to him in the timeout and I was just like, hey, what could I have done differently, to not get that? And he just told me it was just a bad call. I just saw him go down really fast. I thought you had to have held him. So, it was kind of upsetting because, in the heat of the moment, I can't get those 10 yards back, and then we snapped it. Bad snap resulting in a touchdown. So, felt like it was all my fault. But yeah, I was a little bit disappointed, but, we're all human. We all make mistakes.
Did you make sure Coach Swinney knew that
yeah, no, man. He doesn't care. So the penalty happened in the game. That's all that matters. They called it. So.
Zach Brooks is a guy who's been around a long time, fought a lot of injuries. How good was it to see him get his second touchdown of the year?
Right. Definitely great to see him getting back to it. He ran that touchdown right behind me, which a guy that I have a lot of respect for. Love him to death. It's great to see him out there rumbling and bumbling, getting touchdowns.
How did this offensive line grade out overall?
This is actually one of the highest games that we've all had as a collective unit. Obviously Jay had an amazing game. ACC player or lineman of the week, our lineman of the week, obviously. I think we were all over 90% area. So, and then Taylor Hearn came in, and he actually was the highest grade. He graded a 2.3, which is hard to explain how Caldwell does it, but that was the highest grade total. But he didn't meet the minimum requirement of snaps to win those type of honors. But he had a great game as well.
You'll have the opportunity to set a record for consecutive home wins on Saturday. Is that going to be an extra special opportunity for you?
I think definitely. Just as a senior in your final ride, being able to take that record and put it under your belt. We're just extremely happy to be able to do something of that nature. Obviously there's been tons of great teams that have played in this stadium, and to have the longest winning streak at home is just something special.
I'm going to talk about this offensive line. It seems like every year it's the question. It was the question heading into this year. Grade yourselves through these first 5 games.
I think now we're the answer. I think we've done extremely well. Obviously, being at the beginning of the season, being one of the question marks of the team, being the weak point of the team. But that's where you want to be. You want to be an underdog. You don't want people blowing you up or saying that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I just think that we have taken it personally, and just been happy to dominate everyone that we've gone against so far, and we need to keep that up just for the ultimate team success.
I go back over the past couple of years, and there were games where I'd never seen an offensive lineman come out. Same 5 played, seemingly every snap. I look in, I see a Morgan in, I see a Hearn in, Falcinelli at all different times. How big is that?
I think it's great that we can develop depth that way. We really try to get subs in as early as possible for Georgia Tech to get them in high-risk situations, in situations that mattered what they did, the outcome. And I think they responded very well to that. They had great games all around. I just think it's great that we can, put those guys in to those certain learning situations that they're not going to get from practice, they're not going to get from scrimmages. They need 80,000 people in the stands, and a point that where if they mess up, there's high consequences for that. So I think that it's great that our coaches have the respect and the the belief in them, to put them in the game in that situation.
How did you feel after Saturday when you guys followed up that emotional win of Notre Dame with one of your more dominant performances of the year?
I just really think that that speaks to the character, to the maturity of this team, to the expectations that we have from a team setting. We're just a bunch of winners. That's all we've done for 5 years. That's all we know. So it's a little bit different feel from 2011. I think when we were number 5 in the country then, it was a huge deal. People were overly excited to where it was a distraction. now it's just we expect it to be here. This is where we want to be. This is our goal. So I think it's a little bit different from a maturity level that, all we know how to do is win. So I think it's a lot different, and, that's going to help us in the long stretch.
Boston College is a program that has a reputation for having dominant offensive lines. Does it feel a bit odd that going into a game with them that everybody's talking about how good you've been?
I just think that speaks to the season that we've had. Obviously they still have a great offensive line. They tend to run the ball a lot. I think the focus is a little bit more this year is going to be our offensive line versus their defensive line, obviously. And we're just grateful for that opportunity.
What was your reaction the first time you heard Dabo ran on Saturday? Was it one of those deals like it's about time?
I actually watched it live. I was sitting in the paw, with my family, and it popped up, and I just heard him start yelling. I was like, "What's going on over there?" And then I heard him say the word Clemson, and I was like, "Oh man, who asked that question?" And it's great. I don't think David Hale meant it in a negative way. I think he was kind of trying to crush the whole Clemsoning thing. But obviously, Coach Swinney was kind of on edge with the whole game. It was a trap game. It was all this stuff. So he was already kind of, aggravated with it being called that. And, just poor guy, shouldn't ask the question. Should ask at a later date.
I talked to somebody yesterday about it, and they were talking about his dancing and rant. They said, do the players think it's embarrassing? I'm like, I think the players appreciate that kind of
definitely. A coach that can stand up for you, a coach that, is so humbled and so, carefree about what his image is, other than obviously negative things, to where he can act a fool in the locker room with us, be silly and dancing. That's a guy you want to play for. That's a guy you want to put it on the line for. And, he's just been an amazing addition to this program to where he's, taken us to new levels.
What about the defensive lines of Boston College and Notre Dame? Can you compare the two? Any similarities you see there between those two lines?
Other than talent, not really. I mean, Boston College is just a bunch of big old slugs that try and plug the holes. They do great at moving. They're going to be hard to block, whether they're going from A to B or B to A. They do a lot of moving around. Where Notre Dame was type of a run. They just try and hold you up and see what's going on. Boston College is going to try and run into it in collision with you. So there's not too many similarities other than they're both good at defense. So.
What is it that stands out about Boston College's defense that's enabled them to have this success week in and week out?
The different fronts that they give you, they really try to confuse you as an offense. We were watching tape yesterday, and I think we saw 20 different formations on a defense, and that's something very odd that you don't really see too much. They try to bring it from every kind of angle. They give up little tendencies like every team does, and we're just going to have to really exploit that through our film study. And, just with the preparation that we have this week, I think it'll be a fun game.
What did they do? If you watched the Florida State game and how they shut down and took down, what did they do different?
I think, Florida State tried to, I don't know if it was a pride thing, but it seemed like they tried to do what Boston College was good at, which was stop the inside run. You just got to get outside of these guys and try to outflank them on the edges, and that's where you're going to find your most success. I think that we're going to, move the pocket a little bit and just try and do various things with Deshaun like you saw in the previous two games. And, we're just going to do what we do.
You're a mutter, so are you disappointed it's going to be a nice sunny day out?
Yeah, we'll hopefully, get some water hoses out there and spread the field down a little bit so we can get comfortable in our natural environment these past 2 weeks.